Hi guys, so today we'll be looking at verb tenses. So let's start with present simple tense. Present simple tense basically just tells you the current state of affairs. So I work. It's a general statement. That's what you do, right? Or rather, that's what I do. I work. Present continuous tense shows that the action is continuous. It's happening right now. This is easy to memorize because it says here continuous, which tells you that the action is currently happening right now. So what you do is that you just take your verb, which is work, and you add ing. Right? I am working, like I'm recording this video right now. But then if to say general statement that I am a YouTuber, meaning I record videos for a living, it doesn't specifically state when am I doing that, isn't it? It's just a general statement to show you that that's what I do. Then it's present simple. You use it to show general statements. But for showing an action that's happening right now and that's continuing, you add ing to your verb. Right? Past simple, I worked. It means that you used to do a certain action in the past. You just take your verb, you add ed, right? So far, nothing is complicated here from what I've explained. The problem now will start here. You see, if you have a verb, an action verb, and you want to show the past tense of it, past simple, you just add ed, provided it's a regular verb. This is where the problem starts. There are things that we call regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular verbs means a verb that you can turn into past tense by just adding ed. Irregular verb means you cannot do that. The word changes completely. The verb changes completely to change it to the past tense. Right? So in this case, our work is simplified. We have a regular verb here, so we just add ed to show an action that happened in the past simple. Say I worked, which means I worked yesterday or I worked last week. Doesn't matter when, but it's in the past. We will get to irregular verbs, and I will make sure that I get back to this lesson to make you understand and have a look at this again using irregular verbs. Yeah? So let me give you an example of an irregular verb, if I can think of it. Let's say I slept. So if we use sleep as an example, sleep in the present simple would be I sleep. Right? In the present continuous, it would be I'm sleeping. In the past simple, it would be I slept. Can you see that sleep, you don't add ed to make it past tense? You can't say I slept. You say I slept. The verb sleep changes to slept. That's what we call an irregular verb. So in this case, you would say I slept. That's still fine. Why does it matter, or why is it challenging when you use irregular verbs? It's because when we get to other forms of tenses, they are called perfect tenses, where you have to use a helper with an irregular verb. That's why it gets a bit tricky, but you will see. So anyways, now we have covered the present simple, present continuous, past simple. Now we look at the past continuous. Past continuous, what you just do is you want to show that the action was taking place for a certain period of time in the past. So what you do is that you say, I was, you use a helper here, I was working, which means you were doing it for a continuous, past continuous, for a continuous period of time, right? So that's relatively easy. Now we look at the present again, but now it's the present perfect. Right? Every time you use the perfect tenses, you have to use a helper like have, has, or had. Have, has, or had. Right? Every time you use the perfect tense. And when you use the perfect tenses, you use irregular verbs, because irregular verbs always use a helper. Right? There are instances where irregular verbs are the same as regular verbs, like work, worked. The irregular the base verb of worked is work. The past tense of work is worked, and the irregular verb, or rather the past participle of work, is worked still. Right? So anyways, now why do we have the perfect tenses, present perfect? Right? This shows that before this present moment I did something else, which is worked. I have worked. It shows that before this present moment I did a certain action. So the perfect tense, they always compare two time states. There is now the present state and there is the past tense. So it says, before this present state, I have done something else, which is I have worked. And then now we get to present perfect continuous. Present perfect continuous is the same thing as present perfect, except that the action is continuous. So if the action is continuous, you just add ing, and you add been. So this statement now reads, I have been working. Because we have a helper here, have, it means that there are two time states. Now, the current time state and the past time state. Before this current moment, I have been working. This is how you can read that sentence. You say, before the present moment, I have been working. Before the present moment, I have worked. Can you see that it's comparing? It's talking with respect to the current state. So now we look at the past perfect. So in this case, it takes a certain point in the past and it says, before that certain point in the past, I did something else. So we can say, so to read this statement, you can put in another sentence before. You can say, before I went to sleep yesterday, I had worked. You see, there are two time states here. One is not written. I'm just giving you an example so that you can relate. You can say, before I ate dinner yesterday, which is already, that statement is already in the past tense because we said ate, right? Before I ate dinner yesterday, I had worked, which means this is showing you an action before an action in the past. Both of them are in the past, right? So you just add ed to your verb, to your base verb, to turn it into a past tense, and you add a helper. Remember, perfect tenses always use a helper, right? So another way to look at it is to say that if past simple was worked, right, which means we have one action that shows past tense. Now, because we have two activities in the past, we have worked, which shows one activity, and this had also shows that we have two past tense. This had is a past tense of have, and worked is a past tense of work. So that's why we use a helper, because we want two verbs. I had worked. If you say I worked, it's only one past tense verb there. Then it's simple. We can just say simple. If it's perfect, it's complicated. Right? Then where are we? Past perfect continuous. I had been working. Now, this shows that there are still two events in the past, but one is continuing for a certain period of time. So we add ing, and every time you add ing, you put in the word been. Right? So by this reads as I had been working by the time I went to sleep at night. Right? So future with will. So now we get to future simple tense. Right? We're using will as an example here. So future simple tense, easy, choose action that will happen in the future. We just put will. Right? So remember, in this present simple we have I work, and then here we say I will work. Right? And then this sentence, ignore it. Then we get to future continuous. We want to talk about something in the future, but whatever we're talking about, it's continuous. So we just add ing. I will be working in the future, right? Now, then we get to the complicated part, the perfect tenses. Right? Future perfect tenses. Now, there are two states in the future. Right? Remember, with the perfect tense, we use the helper have, right? And then we use the verb worked. Now, because it's in the future, we still remain with the will. I will have worked. Now, let's put in one action before this one. Right? By the time the alarm rings tomorrow, I will have worked. Can you see why we have the helper and the verb? It shows you that by a certain time in the future, something else would have happened. Huh? And then future perfect continuous is just the same thing, but continuing. You just add ing, and every time you add ing, you add the word been. Then that's it.